Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be drawing a gorgeous tiger that I found on Pixabay. I'm going to start by showing you how to get the basic shapes in. I'm going to start with a circle. It's just a freehand circle, but as best as I can, draw a circle in that will encompass pretty much the whole face of the tiger. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly perfect because the edges are going to be rough because fur and all that sort of stuff happens. So I've got my basic very start of my picture. The top of the head. So I'm going to break the head into thirds. So the top of the head is to a third to the eyes. So the eyes will be equivalent here. From the same distance to the nose. And then the same distance to the bottom of his chin and his mouth. So eyes, nose, and I'm just going to draw in the basic shape of his mouth there. Okay, now top of his head, inside of his eye. Same top of his head, inside of his eye. So that's the insides of his eyes just there. So I'll draw his eyes in now, and they're a sort of soft sideways diamond shape. And they're on a slight downhill tilt. And I can change these. Just got to make sure they're the right size. So they're maybe a fraction bigger. Okay, like that. Keep them about the same size. Okay, now his nose is to here. So he's got a heart-ish shaped nose, and it comes up to the corners. The lines of it come up to the corners of his eyes. So I've got that mark there. And I'll do the basic shape, and all animals have different nose shapes and different, it's fun to see the different proportions on animals, like a deer's nose and a rabbit's nose and a dog's nose and a bear's nose. Everything's so different. It's so much fun to sort of look at animals and try and analyze what it is about them that makes them them. So now I'm going to go down to here. I might change this a little bit. I think I've made his, I'm going to go down here like that. And so the corners of his mouth also are in line with his tear ducts. I can just see the corner of his mouth in line with his tear duct, like that. And then he's got, I'll erase this bit that I've done down here. He's got his little chin beard on his bottom chin, just down there like that. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Now, he's got the side of his nose and everything comes to the outside. I've got to drop his nose down. That's what I've done. I've done his nose too high. So I'm going to erase that. So 1, 2, so I should have had the top of his nose on that line. So I'm just going to drop his nose down. I thought something looked a bit wrong. But that's the thing. You've got to just double check your measurements. There's no rush and you can always redo things. So so his eyes come to the edge of his tear ducts. So I've got that right. Make that a bit thicker there, like that. Pop his top lips, which comes to the inside of his eye. That's looking a bit better. There we go. And then like that. Okay. I'm happier with that. So now, from the top of his head, or the top of his eyes, to the top of his head is the same height as his ears. And his ears are more to the side of his head. So I'll draw those on. And they come down the side like that. And this ear's facing back. So it's the same height as the other one, but facing back, because he's sort of listening to something that's going on off in the distance. So now I can add just a bit of fur texture, start to soften him up a little bit. And I'm going to add just a little bit more shape to his face. On the outside of his face, I'm going to add these whiskers now, because he's got big cheek whiskers. So I add those in, and they come down sort of to the side like that. These ones come out same, a bit to the side, down to about his lip like that. Then his beard, and then you can see his shoulders underneath just a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to drop his, like now I can start to look at what shapes need to be altered. So he's got quite dark, I'll call it eyeliner, around his eyes. So I'm just going to draw myself a guideline of that eyeliner on both of his eyes, like that. Trying to keep the shape right. Come down under here. Okay. And predominantly most of his face so is gold, and on top of his nose doesn't have a lot of colour, like a lot of stripiness. But the stripes are what's going to give him his main shape. I'll draw his pupils in. They're at the centre, at the top of his eyes, and he's got amazing gold irises. They really are amazing. So I'll draw his eyes. He's looking at us. And then he's got a little gold hue around the iris like that, and the rest of it's yellow. Okay. So I can start to add. I might actually take his head, or I'm going to add the fur around the top of his head like that. Soften up his ears. And the inside of that ear is like that. And then he's got hairy inside this ear, like that. Very dark rims around the outside edge of his ears. And I'm going to now eliminate this outside circle. So I'm just going to erase the underlying circle that was my base drawing, like that. And there we have the basic shape of our tiger's head. So now I can start to add in, I'm going to actually get rid of this line up here as well. Get rid of that line as well. And now I'm going to start to add in the stripes. And you've got to remember to watch the direction everything goes. And they are quite well mirrored. Like they're not exactly the same both sides, but they're very close. So it's, and he's not going to look exactly like the photograph, but I'll do as best as I can. So all of these little lines are going to be black. And I'll come just down and around. And this is, I love drawing details like this. I love lines, I love zebras, I love tigers, I love drawing anything with pattern. Giraffe, you know, you name it. I love, I love pattern. I love trying to draw pattern. And one of my favourite animals is a zebra to draw. So I might do one of those at some stage very soon. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly right here. And you can see the stripes sort of disappearing off over the back of his fur there, like that. Then we'll draw this one. I haven't got exactly the same, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same. And he's got beautiful pattern on the top of his ears. This one you can just see the front of it, but that one you can see the pattern on the top at the back. Now the stripe, the eyeliner part of his eye comes out and up and then down under his eye like that. And this will help to consolidate the shape of him as well by adding these stripes in the shape of the direction of his fur. It helps to make him look three-dimensional. I'm just going to try and keep everything at least remotely symmetrical. Okay, there we go. Come down and under this eye. I think I've got that one too far. I've got to bring that up closer to his eye. Erase that line there. And up closer to his eye, like that. Same on this side. Like that. There we go. And then there's a line coming down a little bit further. It comes up into a point, Same on the other side. Line comes up a bit further and up into a point, like that. So we've got that one a bit thick. Erase that bottom little bit of a line and that top bit of a line. There we go. Now, having another look, he's got a line that comes across here and comes down to there. Oops, and then drops down into a point like that. And I'll mirror that on the other side, even though it's not exactly the same in the reference, but I'll mirror that just for symmetry's sake for myself. And comes almost to the edge of the nose, or his cheek part of his nose, like that. And then he's got, on his nose itself, he's got like lines that his whisker fur goes into, and all his little whiskers come out of, like that. And I'll do the same on this side, trying to keep them around about the same size. They're about right. And that one's a bit longer. And again, it's in the shape of the outside of his nose or his cheeks, like that. And I can actually draw, I'm going to take them to the edge, just there like that, because that's his sort of cheeky nosy bit. He's got a line coming down, stripe going down there. He's got a couple of little stripes coming down here. This is all mainly just beautiful wool, like he's on his jowls. He's got a big dark stripe coming down the whole outside of his face on this side that I can see. So I'll turn that all into a big dark stripe, and he's actually quite woolly out there. And he's got a stripe now, it's getting onto his chest. So the stripe comes down onto his chest, like that, and then onto this side. So that is basically my tiger drawn in. It's going to have a quick look. I've got to make the side of his nose come up. I didn't have that coming up enough. And he's got a little dot on either side there, like that. I've got to do another little circle there, like I'll just bring his chin down, and he's just got dots like that coming onto his chin. I'll get rid of the middle one. He only needs the side ones, like that. Okay, might make that a fraction softer around the edge there. Just got to make that, soften that up a little bit. It's looking a bit too harsh. And I'll just erase some of those underneath lines like that. Take that to the edge. Okay, we're ready to go in with watercolour. So for the beginning of this painting, I'm going to use my watercolours. I'm going to go into his eye, and I'm going to use a mixture of burnt umber and indigo. And I'm going to start to add all of the dark areas and the stripes just as the base layer, and then after I'll go over again with a slightly darker layer to create the fur texture. But I'll start to fill in all of these stripes with burnt umber and indigo. Into the eyes, I add cadmium yellow and a touch of orange, and I leave, there's a turquoise iris in his eye. It's a beautiful colour, so I leave that, just the white of the paper for now. Then onto the actual tiger's face, I go in with a very diluted mixture of burnt sienna, and then I use transparent sienna, very thin wash, around the rest of his face. Now I'm going to intensify the darks around his eyes and the dark areas of his fur, and I'm going to use Payne's Grey. I now go back in with a less diluted transparent sienna. I'm just using a thicker consistency of the same colour, and it just makes it a slightly stronger tone. And I'm also creating a bit of fur texture as well. Now I'm going to add some Payne's Grey and do exactly the same thing around his dark stripes, just creating that fur texture and the darker tones, and just makes him look more furry and lifelike. Now I'm going to add just a few whiskers in with my Posca pen, which is an acrylic paint pen, and they are wonderful for taking back highlights. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've had so much fun drawing and painting it for you. I'd love it if you click like and subscribe, click on the bell icon, that way you'll be notified when I release a new video, which I do most days of the week. So I hope you have an awesome day, everyone, and I will see you next time. Okie doke, see you then, bye.